What does a true king do? He rules, he conquers, he leads, he protects, and he provides. A true king is not just all about power, status, fame, and wealth, as how he is normally perceived by everyone else. He understands the rewards and consequences of power. A true king utilizes all of those things for the greater good of his kingdom, the place, domain, territory, and world that he had built, protect, and nurtured. Because a true king is both a loyal servant and leader to his kingdom. A king's role is not about being tyrannically abusive with the acknowledgement of his power, because such a king will never be respected by anyone. A true king treats his kingdom like his own child. He takes care of it like how a blacksmith carefully forge, shape, and polish his arsenal of weaponry, or like how a master chef delicately cooks and prepares his dish. A true king takes care of his kingdom wholeheartedly because it is his sole purpose. He nurtures his people through creating a stable and fair economic system, entertainment, and opportunities. He expands the territory of his kingdom to explore new golden lands and create even more opportunities for his people. He protects his kingdom valiantly by creating an impenetrable fortress and a strategic plan for when attacks from opposing forces are imminent. He only fights when it is absolutely necessary, because war and battle both risk inevitable causes for the destruction of his kingdom and the death of his people. And finally, a true king is always ready to wholeheartedly be willing to make great sacrifices for the greater good and future of his kingdom. So how can we, as the civilized men of the 21st century, have a mindset like a true king to bring prosperity to our own lives? It is simple. It all starts by you making the decision to take full control and to lead your own life through your own terms. It may sound so common to some of you gentlemen, but in reality, in today's world, we spend too much time trying to live other people's lives. A king does not imitate another king's kingdom. He builds his own. And that is what all of us men should do instead. Create and build our own kingdom, instead of mimicking the kingdom of others. Why be in someone else's movie when we can make our own movie? Why mimic someone else's kingdom when we have all the power to build our own? Our life is our kingdom, gentlemen. Everything within is part of our kingdom. Our career, our financial well-being, our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health, our boundaries, our beliefs, our values, our principles, our relationships with our family, friends, and significant other, our materialistic possessions, how we want our house to look, smell, and feel like, our choice of clothes and style, our hobbies and interests, our tastes in music and food, all of them, gentlemen. Treat every aspect of your life as your own little kingdom. Protect them, make sacrifices for the greater good of your kingdom, and nurture your kingdom so that it will grow into prosperity in the future. So many men today do not take care of their kingdom. Their physical health is not on point, their mental health is even more absurdly messed up, they are not where they wanted to be in terms of their career, their financial well-being is in tatters, their relationship with their loved ones are not in order, and even their hygiene is seriously ignored. How can a man be the master of his own life if he does not value his own life? How can a man conquer his life if he treats his life like a purposeless waste? How can a king be truly a king if he treats his kingdom like his own feces? And how can a king be a true king if he leads his kingdom into suffering, destruction, and demise? And that is what the men of today are doing, leading their life, their own kingdom, into a chaotic mess. As men, we are natural-born leaders. We build, we hunt, we explore, we discover, we fight, we protect, and we conquer. And as much as you gentlemen want to deny it, what every common and ordinary man do, it is not different to what a king would do. I truly believe that every man is the king of his own world, and every man has all the power within themselves to create, nurture, and protect that world according to his own authentic and realistic terms. And with every great power comes great responsibilities. If you avoid responsibilities and refuse to take full ownership of your life, that is where you start to blame others and complain. That is where you will never be a master of your own world and a king of your own kingdom. If you try to live other people's lives, you serve others. If you live your own life, you serve only yourself. The greatest slave in the kingdom is generally the king of it. All of you gentlemen, deep down, know what you want for your life. Every aspect of your life is in your control to create and shape. You just have to be honest and truthful to yourselves. and to have such a huge burning desire to build a life and create a kingdom that you always want for yourselves, no matter what it takes. Like the famous Julius Caesar said it himself, Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. We all have the power to conquer our own lives, to be the master of it, to be the gatekeeper of it, to be the protector of it, to be the nurturer of it, to be the magician of it, to be the lover of it, and to be the king of it. All it takes from you is your burning desire to want it badly and make the ultimate decision that you would do whatever it takes to realize that life for yourselves, that kingdom that you want to be a king of. A man who takes full responsibility and control of his life, and the king who conquers his kingdom. Every man in this world is aristocratic in some ways. He wants to rule, he wants to be in control, he wants to conquer, he wants to dominate, he wishes to be capable, he wishes to be competent, he wishes to be high value in every aspect of his life. And where does the values of a high value man come from? It comes from him getting his life and his kingdom back in order. Thank you for watching.
Get the lights for me, please. 3 rules for being a good king. You ready? Number 1, realize you're a king. You have to realize you're a king. You have an influence around those that are in your world. You have an influence on people, whether you realize it or not. You know, when I was counseling in North Carolina, it really surprised me at how many men didn't realize their influence on their friends, their family, their jobs, their spouses, their kids. They didn't realize the influence, and they thought, oh, it doesn't really matter what I do. It doesn't really matter what I say. As long as I'm kind of there, I'm not doing all this terrible stuff that other people do. I might be working a 9 to 5. I'm just kind of doing the bare minimum. And they didn't realize the impact or the influence that had on especially their family. These men devalued themselves. They devalued their words and their actions. My kids will just be fine without me. It's better if my wife just makes all the decisions. I'll just do what she tells me to do and really not even help her make decisions. It doesn't really matter at my job if I'm trying hard enough, as long as I just punch in, punch out, do the bare minimum not to get fired, and then get the heck out of there. It's better if I don't interfere. I heard this from some men. These are real things I heard from men when I was counseling in North Carolina and in Michigan. I've heard these things. Your realm of influence is your kingdom. Your realm of influence is your kingdom. This could be your family, it could be your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, siblings, cousins, significant other, kids eventually, your friends, your teachers. That's your realm of influence. As you age, you'll take on more and more responsibility in your realm of influence. And then your kingdom will what? Someone tell me. It'll grow. It'll grow. Now, when you think about kingdoms, kings and queens and castles and knights and noblemen and gold and treasure and all those types of things, there's all sorts of different kinds of kings, right? There's some good kings. There's some not so good kings. There's some selfish kings. There's kings with good character. They have wisdom. And there are those bad. There are those lazy. There are those even cruel kings. And the question obviously is, what kind of king are you going to become? You're going to be a king because you have and will have even more of an influence. It's not the question if you're going to be a king or not. It's what kind of king are you going to be? And of course, parents and courts and POs and teachers and counselors and Pineview, we cannot force any of you to do anything. You're not babies. We can't say go from this spot to this spot. It doesn't work anymore. In fact, we don't want to force you to do anything. Remember from last week's meekness lesson, nobody wants to take what away from you? Power. Nobody wants to take your power away. In fact, we want your power to grow. I'll get you just a second, Caden. We want your power to grow. So if we don't want to take power away from you, and we want power to grow, what do you think Pineview, POs, teachers, parents that are involved, etc., what do you think we're trying to do? Not diminish power, but we're trying to do what with that power? Channel it. So, a couple of you guys, channel it, direct it, guide it. We want you guys to be more powerful than where you are now, but we want that power to be used for good. Your good and the world's good. Go ahead, Caden. Yes, sir.
Did you say the 3 rules?
I just got one so far. One is realize that you're a king. That's number 1. I need a pen. Can I borrow that pen real quick? I'm gonna cut you. Thank you. Thank you. And if we're trying to channel that power, the best illustration that I can think of, we used a lot of illustrations last week for meekness, but the best illustration I think is like a river. A river, when it's out of control, it's powerful, right? It can be damaging. But if it's channeled and it's moving in the right direction, it can be very, very useful. You're going to have an impact on this world. You're going to move through this world like a powerful river, and it depends on how you're going to be channeled. Who is ultimately responsible for how your river flows and where it flows? Who's responsible? You are. You are. I'm responsible for how my river flows. You're responsible. I can listen to other people. I can listen to influences. I can listen to other teachers. I can watch videos like we just watched, and I can be motivated and influenced, but ultimately it comes down to Rodney. It comes down to me to say, how am I going to flow? How am I going to impact or influence the world around me? It's the same thing with you guys. It's 100% up to you. 100%. So number 1, I want you to just realize that you are a king currently, and your kingdom's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. Obviously, we want you to be a good king, but realize you are a king, number 1. Number 2, a good king takes care of, and it's more than this, but I'm going to just talk about these 3 right now. A good king takes care of, holds up, supports, you could say, 3 people groups in their life. You ready? Some of you may remember this. Children, women, and the weak. Those 3 realms. A good king holds up, supports, takes care of primarily those 3 people groups in your life.
You said
Children, women, and the weak. And I'm going to explain those in a minute. Children, obviously, if you guys have kids one day, biological kids, your own children, you are 100% responsible for how they turn out. I don't think you guys realize, well, some of you do, I know all of you do actually think about it, but as you get older, you're going to realize even more the impact of your fathers. And I mean your biological fathers, whether you knew him or not. There's something inside of us, there's something inside of our heart, inside of our being, that has this immaterial connection to our biological parents, mother and father. It's what it is. Some of you don't like that. I get that. I didn't make the rules. But there's this connection, there's this thing inside of us, even if you never knew him, or if he hurt you badly, there's still going to be this thing inside of you that his influence, whether he's absent or not, good or bad, is going to mold you in one way or another. You have to be proactive in how you allow that to mold you. Does that make sense? So you look at your dad, you look at your mom, or any other influencer that you have in your life, whatever that is, and you hear or feel or see the impact that their life or their actions, their words are having on you, and then you determine how that's then going to affect my life. Me and my father are very different. We're very different. He's blue collar, uneducated. He's dead now, but he never went to college. He didn't graduate high school, a GED. And he was a factory worker. That's just what he did. That's just not who I am. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that. I actually did work in some factories, and I applaud men that do the hard laborious work, but that's just not how my brain was wired. I went the education route because I fell in love with learning, and this is kind of where it led me. So me and my father are very different in very many ways. He had some very good attributes about him that I took on, and then there were some that were not so good that I said, you know what? That caused problems, that caused pain in either my life or my sister's life or my mom's life or whatever. I said, you know, I'm not gonna allow that to be part of my life. You have the same opportunity. Maybe there's a lot you need to reject about your biologicals. Maybe there's not a lot, but it's up to you what you're gonna accept and bring into your life and what you're gonna reject. Does that make sense? Okay. Children are a good king's responsibility. Your biologicals, but also kids in general. Now, you don't take over the responsibility of someone else's kid, especially if they're taking care of that child, right? That's not like you do that. But what if a kid doesn't have a home? What if someone's in trouble? What if a child's in trouble? Are men responsible for moving in that kid's life in some way to try to help them or save them in whatever way you can?
If they're not buttheads.
We are. Yeah. We are responsible. Who in here has younger siblings? Raise your hand. Younger siblings. Okay, as men, young men, your influence on them is your responsibility.
What if you never met them before?
But they can still have an impact, but you still could have a positive impact in some form or fashion. And when I say a realm of influence, I would say those that are active in your life at this time or in the future. Okay, number 1, 3 areas that a good king takes care of children. Number 2 is women. Many of you may get married when you get older. You're responsible to support and to care for and to hold up your wife. You're responsible for her. It doesn't mean you make her choices. It doesn't mean that you're better than she is. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means you are that husband that's going to take care of her in whatever way is needed. That's your responsibility. Who in here has a mom, either biological or adopted, that's still alive? Pretty much all of you. In one form or another, you're responsible for her. Who in here goes on home visits? Raise your hand. When you're on a home visit, and if your mom's there, biological or foster or whatever, you are responsible to move in a positive direction for her, to hold her up, to support her. Okay? Grandmothers, sisters. Go ahead, Junior, it's okay.
And another thing too, some mothers and women are way smarter than men.
Are what more?
Smarter than men.
I can't hear you, Junior.
Some,
Are what more?
Some like mothers and some girls and women are way smarter than men.
Oh, way smarter. Oh, I got you. Yeah, I got you. Totally, absolutely. And so if you happen to get married to a woman that's smarter than you just support her the best you know how. Maybe ask her how to do that, right? You support her the best way you know how is a good way to do that. You're right, Junior. You're right. That's true. Children, women, grandmothers, even your sisters. I've shared this before when I taught this before. One thing that I do with my sisters, now both my sisters are married. They have their own husbands and stuff. But when we go out to eat, and if it's just my sisters, guess who pays? I pay. I'm the man. I'm the only boy. I'm the oldest. I'm the only boy. My dad died. So now whose responsibility is it to take care of mom and, in a way, my sisters? That's me. That is me. If my mom's house falls apart, who's responsible for that?
You.
I am, as the next male in line, so to speak.
Because you didn't buy her a new house.
Maybe one day. So that's one thing I do when I leave Pineview. I go home and I could list the projects I've done at mom's house, even last summer and this summer, making it safer for her. She uses a cane and sometimes a walker. I need to make it safe for her. If she falls down because I didn't take care of something, that's my responsibility. Okay?
Unless you're a goodwill member.
C, or the third one, the weak. The weak. A good king takes care of the weak. This could be the elderly.
That's the third one?
That's a third, that's the third
I was gonna say.
people group of number 2. Yeah. The weak. This could be the elderly, older people, the infirmed, the sick, even the emotionally and mentally challenged, the subordinate. If you have opportunity to invest in, to support, to raise up someone that's weaker than you, you should do so. That also would include protection. That's what real men do. That's what good kings do. This world needs good men. This world needs, not just wants, needs good kings. I'll get you in a second, Moses. The children in your life, whether that's siblings, Willie, you have a nephew that's a little bit younger than you, right? To one degree or another, you have a responsibility to him because he's younger than you, right? Okay. Children in your life need you. The women in your life need you. Those that are weaker than you, they need you. Now, this could be practically or positionally. The personal needs of a good king, so your personal needs, do they come before or after those you're responsible for? After. Sure do. It's after. It's after. Go ahead, Moses. Did you have a comment or a question? You gotta speak up. It's echoey.
He's like talking about how they take care of like security and stuff. I was gonna say like I know like Mark be doing that. So you talking about all the time how you picking up hobos on the street, and like he said like he almost got like kidnapped. And like he's talking like all about it. I'm like, bro, like
He's trying to help.
I was telling like Mark, why you keep doing that? He's like, 'cause they people too. And like in that foundry situation, I was watching the same thing, and he literally tell him like this one dude was like being weird, and he told him like if you ever see me around, I'll give you a ride.
Isn't that wild? So, I mean, really, that's what he's doing. He sees someone who may be weaker than him. Maybe they're infirm. Maybe they're in trouble. And so we want to be safe with it, right? You don't want to be smart, right? But Mark is definitely moving in that direction. He said, I'm a man. This person needs help in some way or another. And he's not going to give him $1 million, right? But can I give him a ride from point A to point B safely? Probably, right? So why not? Maybe, maybe. I know what you mean, though. But no, I mean, that's a good example of Mark being a man and doing that. That's just a little example. So that's a good example. I'm glad you remembered that. Okay? I do remember that as well. You told the story all day long. Okay, let's see here. Before you go to bed at night, you better make sure that everyone in your kingdom is nice and tucked in and safe. That was one thing when my kids were little, when River and Lake were little, I was the last person to go to bed. We'd put them to bed, we'd read them their stories, they were tucked in, I'd make sure my wife was safe and comfortable, and then guess who went around and checked the windows and doors every single night? You. I did. That's my responsibility. Then I thought, I'm going to be lazy tonight. I'm not going to check the doors, or I'm going to just do whatever, or there's something not taken care of or whatever, and something happened. Holy moly. Would I have been a good king that night?
No, you'd have been a bad king.
I'd have been a bad king that night. I'd have been fired. That's right. Before I eat, I make sure everyone else is satisfied. Now, I may be eating with them, but I'm not going to eat a full meal when I know they're going to go hungry. I'm not going to do that. Oftentimes, good kings in their kingdoms are the last to be fed. And before you go off and have fun, you better make sure your family is satisfied. You better make sure they're good, they're satisfied, they're happy. Then I'm going to go fishing. Then I'm going to go hunting. Then I'm going to go whatever. Because if your family's not satisfied, if they're needing dad, if they're needing that man in the house to do something, to play with them, to teach them something, whatever it is, you put your own stuff aside. You take care of them. Then you can go have fun. All right. Here's some practical ways that you can take care of.
Yo, you never said rule 3.
I'm getting there. Here's practical ways that you can take care of the children, the women, and the weak in your life. You ready? Practically, and these are just ideas, I'm just kind of shooting them out there. And you want to be wise with this, and you want to be safe, obviously, but these are just throwing some ideas out there. Practically, you can take care of them with money, like paying for lunch, whatever. Make sure they have food, shelter, clothing, just basic needs, maybe some wants, that sort of thing. You take care of them relationally. So practically, what they need is to live and function. Relationally, guys, you are more than a paycheck. You're more than just a 9 to 5. You were not created to be a workhorse, just a mule. You were created to be a king, to be a dad, to be a husband, which is much more than just a paycheck. You talk to your kids. You talk to the ladies in your life. You play games with your kids. You be there when they're upset. You're never going to be perfect, but you need to be there, as imperfect as we may be. You take care of them emotionally. You don't have to feel exactly what they feel. I mean, you gotta, Lake lives with me 100% of the time. I'm a single father, raising a teenage daughter. What the heck? I don't know what I'm doing half the time, man. She feels emotions I don't want to feel. She has issues. I don't understand them. I don't know how to do girly stuff, right? I don't get it. But I'm basically all she's got right now. She's got grandma, she's got my sisters. So I'm finishing raising Lake as best I can. You know, I'll tell you a story. I had to YouTube how to braid hair because she doesn't have that. And so I had to YouTube, okay, I literally had to YouTube because I'm her support. And by YouTubing how to braid hair and helping her with that, I was taking care of her practically, I was taking care of her relationally and emotionally all in one shot. As imperfect as I am, I try. And you should try too. All right, third thing. So we got the 3 things that a real king does. You ready? Realize that you're a king and be a good king. We talked about that. Realize you're a king. Number 2, a good king takes care of what 3?
Children, women, and the weak.
Number 3, a good king conquers himself first. A good king conquers himself first. This is how you channel that power. This is how you channel it. Before any giants, before any castles, before any dragons, you need to conquer yourself. If you don't, you won't be a good king. You just won't. Yes, sir?
The king conquers himself?
Yep. I'm gonna explain, I promise. The first thing the king conquers, or defeats, so to speak, or slays, or whatever you want to say, is himself. How do you do that? Through your words, through your actions, and your direction in life. You conquer. If you conquer those 3 things, ain't no stopping you. Words, actions, and direction. If you conquer those 3 things, you will be a force to be reckoned with. How many in here, raise your hand, knows a man, and don't say their name, but knows a man who does not control or has not conquered their word? Just raise your hand if you know somebody like that. All right, put your hands down. Don't name them. Number 2, raise your hand if you know a man who has not conquered his actions. Behavior. Name a man that you know that has not conquered his direction in life. I can put your hands down. If you're going to conquer, and you guys are in your teen years for the most part, if you're going to conquer your teen years, you have to conquer those teenage thoughts and movements and temptations. The Bible talks about this. It talks about young person's temptations. And it's almost like, because if you remember, I don't know if all you remember, but right now you guys are primarily functioning out of your amygdala in your brain. And what comes out of your amygdala? Who remembers? Say what?
Hormones, dude.
Well, it starts with the E, ends with oceans. Emotions, right? And so the temptations, the things that are happening to you, because you're functioning primarily out of your emotional side, it's, dare I say, more difficult than one that is not functioning out of their amygdala. It's one that's on like a more older adult, is more logic. This is how our brain works, and we're actually gonna get into that in another lesson. If you're gonna conquer your teen years, you have to control and conquer yourself. If you're gonna conquer today, you have to first conquer yourself. If you're gonna conquer your schoolwork, you have to conquer yourself. If you're gonna conquer Pineview and go through your levels and go through your weeks and eventually graduate, you have to conquer yourself in your words, in your actions, in your direction in life. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying if you want that result, you have to. I'm trying. As men, we need to learn how to say no to ourselves. Sometimes when we want something, we have to say no. Now, sometimes that could be because that thing that we want is bad for us, or it might not be bad for us, but it's ill-timed. Sometimes it's something that is okay for us to do, but it's the wrong time for it, which then could be a wrong move. Sometimes when you want to go somewhere, you have to say no. If you know that place could potentially get you in trouble, or bad influence could be there, or whatever. You just have to say, no, I'm not even going to go there. If you're craving something and you shouldn't have it, sometimes you have to say no. sometimes saying yes to something that is immediate, small, or ill-timed will turn into a big no later. But if you say no to those little things, you're gonna have a big yes later on. It's pretty amazing. It's called delayed gratification.
That's what I need to work on.
Everybody does. All right, let's see here. Yes, sir, do you have a question? Oh, okay. All right.
Pay attention, prices.
I think that's all I'm gonna say today.
Let's go. Let's go.
Chill out, bro. Chill out.
Okay. I'm gonna need a staff's help to do the whole hand raising thing because I'm not very good at it. If that's okay. I'm not ready to do that. So let me show you the pay attention prizes.
Hey, Rodney. You know, since I got the mystery box last week, I'll sacrifice my pay attention prize and help you with it.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Keep going.
Will you be fair, Gabe? Gabe, will you be fair? Okay, come on up. Okay. All right. What's that? Oh yeah, my bad.
Free notes.